Beautiful sunrise.
1, 2. You really then get that action.
1,
On the oblique.
2, pass. 1, 2.
Squeeze some side step resistance in 3, 2, and 1. Let's step it out now. Work it through. Dig. Core strong. We got this. Feel the burn. Believe in yourself. Believe you can, because you can and you will. This workout, in the bum, it's called the hamstring, and we throw a punch out. You can put a little dip in there as well if you want to. Be strong, be focused, be determined. We work it. Come on. Come on. Stay focused. Stay engaged.
Mommy, looks like we're in the Arctic. Right? Mommy, look. It looks like we're in the Arctic. When all the trees bust, you gotta take a blanket. Come on, boy. I already started a piece. Have to make just a big mountain. But we can't go underground. I know. It's a big mountain. Alright. Let me cover this back up. Come on, you guys.
Good day, parent teachers, because that is who we are. We are parents and we are teachers in this COVID season when our kids are home with us, whether you're homeschooling like we are doing or they're e-learning online. We are in charge of their education. So since we're in charge, we might as well take charge and be intentional about it. Today, we'll talk about cold weather activities that we can do to keep ourselves and our kids active. Again, especially in light of these COVID restrictions. I have about 5 tips I'd like to share with you what we're doing. And if you have any other suggestions, please put them in the comments below and let's start the conversation. Tip number 1, stay active yourself. We must stay active ourselves. About a week ago, I went for my physical with my doctor, and for the first time ever, I was told that I was overweight. When you first come in and you step on the scale and they do the height thing, they measure how tall you are. My height came out as 5'3", and I didn't think anything of it until my doctor sat down with me and said, I'm overweight based on my height and my body mass index. I'm just borderline overweight. And I was like, what? But my license says 5'5". He said, yeah, sometimes Department of Motor Vehicles gets it wrong. And I was like, but when the assistant was measuring my height, I felt like that plate they put down, she had really like pressed it down really hard. So I was like, well, if I was 5'5", because I think maybe I really am, and we have to measure again. By the way, I did, before I left, I had them measure me again, and I really was 5'3", according to their scale. But I said, well, if I was 5'5", would I be overweight then? And he looked at his charts and he said, no, you'd be well within the weight. So in my mind, I think I was in denial. I was like, okay, so my clothes still fit. I don't really look the same in them, but they still fit. I didn't have to buy any new clothes. And I guess I was kind of in denial until later that evening. I went on Facebook. I recently had reconnected with an old friend named June. And when I went on Facebook, I saw that June was on live. So I just clicked on to see what she was up to. And there she was in a bathrobe, fuzzy house slippers, doing stretching exercises. And I was like, So I looked for about a minute. And I was like, any exercise you can do in a house robe and fuzzy slippers sounds good to me. See, I had morphed a little backstory. From that mom who a few years ago would get off work around 5, run home, change into my workout gear, get the kids, we'd go to a park, I'd get a workout in, run back home, shower, and be back at the office for our evening meetings. I morphed from that mom into the mom that would take the kids to the park, maybe shoot a few hoops with them, have my jump rope, and I'd get a little exercise in, and then I'd sit down and wait for the kids to finish playing, and then, okay, it's time to go, let's go. I morphed from that mom into today's mom, which was, okay, kids, you all can go out and play in the yard, and that will give me time to do some of my own work. The result is I went to the doctor and was told that I was officially overweight. Back to June's exercise class. She was doing some neck rolls, and I realized, oh, I'm much better now. Huh, I can do it both ways. But I realized that day I could not turn all the way. I couldn't do a full circle. And I couldn't turn all the way on this side of my neck. I was like, what is this? I really am not fit. I really am not. So that's when it started dawning on me, like, okay, I do have to get back in motion. Even though my family members had been telling me that for a while. My brother and sister-in-law got me a Fitbit, sent it in the mail. It's good to go. And they were saying, take care of your heart. Anyway, I digress. But the bottom line is, one, we should stay active ourselves. When we empower ourselves as parents, we naturally empower our kids. So tip number 1 is to stay active. By the way, I will drop June's program. It's called 7 at 7. It's just 7 minutes at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just to stretch and get your body in motion. And it's for people with limited mobility. I was like, oh, that was great. She does offer more extensive classes, but I'll drop her information below in the show notes and you can check her out. Tip number 2, let's join our kids in activity. It is December. We just had our first real snow of the year where we are, and my kids were so excited. They got dressed, put on their scarves, their hats. We're going outside to the yard, Mom. And I had read something about walking being the most beneficial exercise you can do. In fact, I'm going to read a little of that later on. And I said, you know what? Hang on, I'm coming with you. And by the way, they sounded as if I was spoiling their fun. My hair's all fuzzy on this side. They sounded like I was spoiling their fun. No, we just want to go to the yard. I'm like, but if you wait for me, I can take you to the open field and we can have more fun. They said, no. I said, nobody step out of that door until I finish getting dressed. I'm coming with you. So we went out. I got my walking in. It turned out to be quite a wonderful time. I'll put some footage in probably at the beginning of this video. They made snow angels. I got some shots. I got my walking in, which is the best part. And it was very good to be out in the open air. They got their playtime in and physical activity in. So did I. So I think that would be a great tip. When the kids want to go out, let's go out and join them. It's great bonding time and it's good for everyone involved. Tip number 3, free indoor tennis. If you're in the New York metropolitan area, New York Junior Learning and Tennis, NYJTL, offers free weekend tennis to, I don't know up to what age, I think around 12 or so, 8 to 12, 7 to 12, but I'll put that information again in the show notes. They provide the balls, they provide the rackets, they provide excellent coaching. All you have to do is show up. Wonderful resource. It's a great change of pace for the kids who are normally in the house most of the time. And if you're outside of the New York metropolitan area, my suggestion is if there's a tennis bubble anywhere around where you live, go inside, check them out, and ask. Sometimes we have not because we ask not. Ask if they have a free tennis program for kids. They just might. And if they don't, create one. Find resources. Maybe there's a community group like New York Junior Learning and Tennis. There's a community group that can partner with the indoor tennis facility. Sometimes they get grant monies to offer because sometimes tennis is considered an elite sport and not everybody can afford the membership for indoor tennis or the indoor tennis fees. So to make sure the community gets to benefit from that facility, oftentimes they offer certain hours where community members can come and play for free. So that's one thing we parents have to do, especially homeschooling parents. Be proactive. We can create the community that we want to live in. Tip number 4, team up with some like-minded, active folks. When I took the kids to tennis, I went back in my car and I was fully prepared to read. I had my books to study, hang out in the car until they were done. But I looked outside and a group of other tennis parents were congregating. So I just came out of the car and greeted and said hi. And they were actually going to a local park to exercise. And they were going with or without me. They weren't waiting for me. So I went and locked up my car, I had my sneakers on, and we walked to the local park, and it was wonderful. They had a spot that was overlooking the water. Someone just brought a cell phone and a speaker, dialed up a free low impact exercise class, put it down, we spread out, and everybody was able to bend and stretch and get in quite a wonderful workout. In addition, while we were working out, one parent was like, look at the sunrise. And we all looked to our right and we saw a beautiful sunrise. It turned out to be a wonderful experience. We were overlooking the water. We saw the beautiful sunrise. We squeezed in a workout while the kids were doing their own tennis. So absolutely, if you can find a group of like-minded people, join them. It's great motivation. And my final tip, number 5, is walk. We can walk. All of these are free. In fact, the walking part was inspired by this book, Healthful Living, by Ellen G. White. That's, again, one of the beauties of homeschool is that we can design our curriculum. So this book is actually part of my oldest son's required reading for his health class. And after they read or do some activity, I asked them, well, what did you learn? And he read me a passage from this book about walking. And I was so inspired. I was like, wow, walking is so beneficial. In fact, I'm going to read maybe about a minute or two of what it says here. But this was what inspired me to go out and walk in the snow with my kids. It was information like this. I'm reading from page 127. Exercise. The human body may be compared to nicely adjusted machinery, which needs care to keep it in running order. One part should not be subjected to constant wear and pressure, while another part is rusting from inaction. While the mind is taxed, the muscles should also have their proportion of exercise. Every young person should learn how many hours may be spent in study and how much time should be given to physical exercise. Walking. There is no exercise that can take the place of walking. By it, the circulation of the blood is greatly improved. Walking, in all cases where it is possible, is the best remedy for diseased bodies, because in this exercise, all of the organs of the body are brought into use. When the weather will permit, all who can possibly do so ought to walk in the open air every day, summer and winter. A walk, even in winter, would be more beneficial to the health than all the medicine the doctors may prescribe. For those who can walk, walking is preferable to riding. The muscles and veins are enabled better to perform their work. There will be increased vitality, which is so necessary to health. The lungs will have needful action, for it is impossible to go out in the bracing air of a winter's morning without inflating the lungs. And this is the passage that my son showed me. There is no exercise that will prove as beneficial to every part of the body as walking. Active walking in the open air will do more for women to preserve them in health, if they are well, than any other means. Walking is also one of the most efficient remedies for the recovery of health of the invalid. The hands and arms are exercised as well as the limbs. When to exercise? Exercise will aid the work of digestion. To walk out after a meal, hold the head erect, put back the shoulders, and exercise moderately will be a great benefit. The mind will be diverted from self to the beauties of nature. The less the attention is called to the stomach after a meal, the better. Morning exercise and walking in the free, invigorating air of heaven, or cultivating flowers, small fruits, and vegetables is necessary to a healthful circulation of the blood. It is the surest safeguard against colds, coughs, congestions of the brain and lungs, inflammation of the liver, the kidneys, and the lungs, and 100 other diseases. By the way, I am not a medical professional. I am simply the daughter of a nutritionist. My dad used to own a health food store, and he had a wonderful library of books like these. He would take us out to play tennis. He would take us out for walking. He was a great advocate, and right in the middle of the city, we just go out and walk around the streets. And this information has served me well. So I advise everyone to, of course, check with your own primary physician, get your own clearances. I'm just sharing some information that I have found useful for my family, and you may find useful too. But again, this is not to be taken as medical advice. Do your own research, and we'll be better for it. A large class of women, sometimes men, are content to hover over the stove, breathing impure air for 1/2 or 3/4 of the time, until the brain is heated and half benumbed. They should go out and exercise every day, even though some things indoors have to be neglected. Better to leave some things undone indoors and to get outdoors for a little fresh air. They need the cool air to quiet distracted brains. Neither study nor violent exercise should be engaged in immediately after a full meal. This would be a violation of the laws of the system. Immediately after eating, there's a strong draft upon the nervous energy. The brain force is called into active exercise to assist the stomach. Therefore, when mind or body is taxed heavily after eating, the process of digestion is hindered. So the vitality of the system, which is needed to carry on the work in one direction, is called away and set to work in another. So when we eat, our bodies need blood and energy to aid in digestion. So if we engage in vigorous study, that will divert the blood to our brains, or if we're doing vigorous exercise, that will divert the blood and energy to our muscles and take it away from the stomach. So good to know. I could read on and on and on, but I won't do that to you, I promise. It's just one little last piece. It says, God designs that the living machinery should be in daily activity, for in this activity or motion is its preserving power. So just a little bit. Again, this was what inspired me to go out and walk with my kids. It ended up being quite a wonderful experience. I think it turned a corner for me. I turned a corner because I was like, the least I can do is walk. And it turns out the most I can do is walk. So those are just 5 free, no cost tips that we can use to keep ourselves and our kids active. When we empower ourselves, we empower our kids as well. And the best way to protect our health is to take care of our health. So warm weather or cold weather, let's keep it active. That's it for now, my fellow parent teachers. Talk to you again soon next time. And I'll be sure to put all the resources I discussed in this episode in the show notes below. Okay, until next time.